You know what was awesome about GoBots? Nothing. Nothing. It was kind of like the Blu-ray, HD, you could go Betamax, VHX, X. You could go down the line and pretty much, use that same logic to determine what was completely not awesome about the other side. Actually, that's not true, but... Well, hello, brothers and sisters. Let us gather tonight and reach our hands out towards... I don't know. I'm going to buzz through these video game systems tonight, and then I might go on to the PC, or I may just go on to the Crying Game. Not the movie, the D&D game. So I actually tried to do this earlier, but when you get two boys under, 6, 7 years old, running around the house, and two dogs killing each other, it's impossible. It's just crazy to even think that I could have gotten through even literally one of these systems. I tried and it didn't work. I wanted to play catch up so I could go on to something else tonight, and it just didn't happen. So let me pick up at the PS2. I have a lot of other things I want to talk about tonight, but if I don't get to them, we'll get to it another time. There's no rush. There's somebody else I wanted to give a shout out to for talking about or mentioning or sharing or something, and I apologize, I can't remember who it was. But good to hear the surgery went well, Diantha. I expect to see you back on here again. One day out of the hospital and get on here. Should have been on your phone. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. Oh. Alright, PS2. 3 games that I can really talk about. The first one, actually, I think I forgot to mention the other night on the Dreamcast, was a game called Burnout. It's a car game. It's a racing game. You can play it as a racing game if you want. But it had this mode. The first 2 or 3 in the series had this mode called Crash Mode, where you tried to rack up as much dollar damage as possible. And the cool thing was, it's kind of like in your head, I'm sure you've never actually wanted to do this, but you think about what would happen if you're looking at traffic. What if I just went crazy right now and just cut the wheel and slammed on the brakes? A lot of people would get hurt. Well, I wouldn't want that to happen in real life, but this game, the physics of it, the dynamics of it, just this crash mode was great. You'd get up to your top speed. They always gave you enough room to build up your speed and decide where your target was going to be. And you try to do kind of like that the corner clip thing with the police do. I can't remember what they call it. And but you just try to throw yourself into this traffic and just cause the biggest accident you could. And the cool thing about it was, the minute you hit the first car, the whole game just went into slow motion. Either that or it replayed in slow motion. The slow motion was awesome because you just see that first initial crush of the the hood, and it would just flip in the air and spin. And I apologize if anybody has been in an accident like this or knows anyone that has been. I don't mean to glamorize it, but the game was fun. So I just want to say, I want to clarify that, because I know people have been in car accidents and stuff, and it sucks. But I'm just trying to separate the game right now from what I'm trying to say. Okay. So, but this mode of the game was the best, and Brad and Corey and I, we played this most, I think. My best guess. It was right around the time that we were playing Unreal Tournament or something as well. But we would play this into the ground, just trying to rack up the scores. And actually, Jen Ferreira, if anybody you guys know her from Taunton, Massachusetts, she used to come over and play that game. She really liked that game. A lot of people like that game because it wasn't like your typical car game where you were locked into having to really invest time into the game. A lot like Gran Turismo, it's so intricate. Every piece of the car, I swear, the bolts on the hubcaps, you can probably decide what weight and gauge. I swear to God, it's just so insane. So with Burnout, it was awesome because none of that mattered. There was a few little tweaks you could make and stuff like that, and different cars and colors you could select, but just driving insanely into some crazy jump that lands you in the middle of traffic or into traffic or straight at an 18-wheeler or something, It doesn't get much better than that. That game was so good. I would buy that system again just to play that game because that's how good it was. Next one in line, this game brought some elements of Driver, elements of Shenmue, and elements of like third-person shooters like Resident Evil or what's the other one I'm thinking of? I can't remember. But Grand Theft Auto 3. If I'm not mistaken, this is the first one that went third person. Because it used to be top down, and you played little cars, and you just ran around the city. You could jump out, but it was almost like a very old graphics, Nintendo-like graphics. And so when you went to this, 3D third person or first, I don't think you can play first person. I can't remember. It was just so cool because all the cars have their own differences, speed, acceleration, handling, all that kind of stuff played into every car that you could steal. And how cool was it just dropping somebody into like a huge, now they're even bigger. I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5, forget about it. Like, the cities are so vastly huge that, like, if you don't want to do the missions, you could probably spend your, the cost of admission on the game makes it worth it, whether you actually play it through the mission or just go crazy in there. Like, to me, that's just as fun. Like, a lot of times, games bum me out because they make me mad because they're so hard. Like, I'm not good at video gaming, but I enjoy playing, and it's just fun, in my opinion, watching people play or critiquing or like bad-mouthing. But every now and again, a game comes along where it just defines what I think is the best game at the time. And Grand Theft Auto 3 was just one of those games where it was just awesome. And then 4 was even bigger, and 5 obviously bigger than that. But and I don't condone violence, but see, most people I know that play video games, every person I know that plays video games probably, can separate themselves. They can divorce themselves from video games and real world. Like, that's why it's not... I read a study recently that sounded really interesting, their new theories about video games. It's not the violence that encourages kids to be violent. It's actually the stress involved with the games. And I never was a firm believer in saying, like, because I love video games and I don't want to see anything change. They have a rating system now. That's enough. But they say that it's the stress from the games that causes kids to act out. And I can see that, but once again, it all comes down to the parent. The parent needs to decide what, games their kids can play. Like, our kids play Lego games. I love those. I'll play them with them because I can actually do those games. It's sad and pathetic, but it's a lot of fun. And we try to, get all the trophies and all the everything in the Lego games just because they're fun. We haven't got the Hobbit one yet, but eventually we'll get it. When it's like $20. Those games, like, never buy them out of the gate. Never. Because they are always $20 games. Like, and $20, I think, equals the value. Though I will say they have improved a lot over the years. They've probably evolved with the generation that first played them. So yeah, that was a great game. So that's my PS2 second favorite. And third, I've already talked about this on another video earlier, but is Tony Hawk 3. Now, Tony Hawk was tremendous, wonderful game that just felt good. One of those games that you can just pick up the controller and you can play it to try to beat it and have just as much fun as you... Like, this is the opposite of Grand Theft Auto for me. Like, Grand Theft Auto, some of the missions were hard enough that I didn't want to stress out. Playing a game and stressing out is kind of counterproductive. Like, you play games to have fun and relax. Like, you don't play games to stress out. Well, I mean, I guess some games, like, but it's also something you enjoy, so the stress is a part of it. Like, MMOs sometimes can be stressful or whatever. So Tony Hawk 3. Tony Hawk 1 started it off with a bang. Great game. One of the best games I've ever played. Tony Hawk 2 added some new moves, obviously all new levels, and the most important thing it added was the manual, because you were able to skate, go into a manual, jump, do a kick trick, into a grind, and then end it with a flip trick and manual again, and just keep doing that. Or if you're on like a half pipe, you can just add a manual into the mix. But you couldn't chain it when it was on a half pipe, because you'd go up, you'd do your tricks. The minute you'd land, you could manual, but it didn't count towards the multiplier until Tony Hawk 3. Tony Hawk 3 added the revert, so you'd go up the top of a quarter pipe or a bowl, do your tricks, whatever you're going to do. Grab trick, flip trick, doesn't matter. Then you'd come down, you'd hit the bumper, I want to say it's like R1, or maybe it's R2, and he reverts, which means he takes a 180 on his board as he's landing, kind of grinds it out into a manual up the ramp to continue it. And it was just a game that, if you were good at it, which I and Brad were really good at it. Corey was pretty good at it too, but Brad and I were always neck and neck. Always trying to top each other's score or beat the next level first or whatever. But we would play that till like the wee hours sometimes and lose track of time, and swearing. And Corey, this is the game that he's biting the controller. He's so mad. The bullfighting ring, I think it was in that game, the last level, or it might have been in Tony Hawk 4, but I think it was 3, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3, that the bull arena ring was in that, and that was tough. That was a tough level to get the money on the top of the wires that went across the top of the ring. Getting up there was really hard, and if you got up there and you missed what you went up there to do, you just wanted to kill yourself. But it was fun because I was doing this with 2 other people, my 2 best friends at the time, and just freaking out, like screaming at the screen. I remember Corey throwing a controller. I remember him getting up and walking out of the room, being like, "I'm scared right now." It was a lot of fun though. That game was such a bonding experience for the 3 of us, I think. I mean, it gets to the point where I was driving around and I was seeing environments where I'd be like, I'd grind that and I'd do this off of that. I could go up to the top floor. Seriously, it was that bad. That's the most, either that or the first EverQuest were my biggest addictions as far as games go. EverQuest, well, I guess that'd definitely be my top 5 games of all time. We're not on that. We're on the PS2. Actually, we're done with the PS2, so we're going to move on to the GameCube. Now, GameCube was a game system that I wasn't super thrilled about, but Gwen had showed some interest, and I thought, that'd be a nice gift if I can find it, but I'm not going to kill myself, because it was one of those systems right around that time, whatever was out at the time, everything was tough to find. Everybody at Christmas wanted one. So I called KB Toys at the mall, I said, I got a stupid question for you. Do you have any GameCubes in? They're like, yeah, actually, we just got a bunch of them in. There's silver ones and purple ones. I said, ooh, would you mind holding me a purple one? So I got down there, and they held me a purple one. I bought it. I think I got Mario Sunshine. Now, this game was pretty fun. When Mario went 3D, alright, please don't hurt me, it became a better game. It did. I love the side-scrolling Mario, but you can only do so much with that. You really can. And they pushed the envelope. They did a lot. The second one might not have been great. Third one was phenomenal. But you can do a lot with it. But it's when you went 3D, it just changed everything. Trying to find all the stars. That was actually, I think, in Mario 64, to be honest. I don't think that was the system. Nonetheless. But Mario Sunshine, Gwen, the one thing she liked to do, psychotic little girl, would take Mario, take him down to the end of the docks, and boop, throw him off. And you can only swim out so far before you drown or something like that. And it would spawn you back, I think. I can't remember. But she would just do this over and over and over and over and over. I'm like, why don't you play the rest of the game, or at least try it out? There's other fun things. And no, she just wanted to throw him off the pier. Killing Mario. Dang, man. The only other game that I can even say anything about was for, I think it was on the GameCube. I hope it was. I'll have to look it up later. If I'm wrong, just add this to that system. Pikmin. Pikmin was this game about this astronaut. He crashes on this planet, and there's 3 or 4 different colored aliens that he can get to follow him. I can't remember, but you'd have to do missions to open up the next level. You were like Teeny in a normal sized world, and you'd walk past these giant rocks that are just rocks, or a bottle, or a boot, or something, and you'd get all your guys following you. Now, all 4 of them could do different things. Don't ask me what they could do. I can't remember at this point. But so you needed certain ones, like the black ones, I think, blew up, and you could send them at a wall, and you'd lose them, but because you wanted to keep your count up, because as long as you had one alive, you could keep going forward in the game. I believe it was. I don't know. I'd have to play it again. But those are the 2 games for the GameCube. Other than that, it was an alright system. I thought it was okay. It was the last system that I really liked. Wii came out and it had a few... Well, we'll get to Wii later on. But from here, this was the last system that had a traditional controller. It was still a little weird. You had like 2 analogs, and then an 8-way, and then this weird little yellow one, which is for camera in some games. You had 2 triggers, a start button and a select button. It was just a weird controller, but it was still a controller. It wasn't like Wii, where it's a motion-based, or Wii U that's got the screen. It was a controller. So, nonetheless, okay. 16, 17. Xbox. You know, a lot of people are... I liked multiplayer Halo, but there was nothing on the Xbox. I went and I looked at the top, like, 100 Xbox games, and I either had them on Xbox or PS2. I think Xbox was actually a better system. It came out like 2 years after, I think. So it had time to develop better technology and use better hardware. But the only thing I wrote down that was Burnout 3. That was the last in that series. And I've already talked about Burnout, so I really don't want to talk about it again. You know why I like it. The crash mode. That's it. And it's done well. And it's the physics and the particle, like, just the way shit fell off cars, and it was awesome. Awesome game. So let's do PS3. And, we should be able to buzz through the rest 3, so I guarantee within the next 3 or 4 minutes I'll be done. PS3, obviously they re-released Tony Hawk in the HD, and I burned through that game. Oh, man. I love that game. I still love that game. And the control scheme was still the same. Like, they didn't change anything about it that I could still use the 8-way rather than the analog stick, because I don't like the analog stick on that game. I like the 8-way. I can do my sweeps. I didn't finish all of it, but I unlocked most of the secrets and did a lot of those games. So, and Skyrim. Oh, I could go on all night about Skyrim, but you know, it's getting to the point where I'm getting into these newer systems, and these games, you know, came out within the last 3 or 4 years. Like, there's a good chance you probably played them. Skyrim was just, I mean, you could customize your character, like I always like to do. Right down to the nitty-gritty. It's not the best customizable engine, and a lot of like the models, like for like the Dark Elves, I wasn't thrilled with them. But nonetheless, it's Skyrim, and it was just this enormous world, and well, I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you play video games, and you've played video games like consistently over the last 10 years, then you've probably played Skyrim, so I'm not going to even get into it. So yeah, Tony Hawk HD and the Infamous series. Now that was another game kind of like Tony Hawk, where I really, really liked the control scheme and the parkour, that you could just climb anything, or stand on anything, or jump off of anything, or roll off of anything, and use your powers as you're coming off. It was a game that made you feel like a superhero when you were playing it. It was just like, oh, I want to do this. Can I do this? Can I get up to that point in the game? Like, because it was all about choices in that game. You could go good or evil. But it also was the first game that really incorporated this climbing system, where, like, better than any Spider-Man game I've seen. Like, you had to find ledges and nooks and crannies, you climb up buildings, but it wasn't super hard. And then you had the power of, like, electricity or energy or something like that. And you absorbed your energy from electrical sources, cars, telephone poles, whatever, air conditioners. And you develop this power of, like, you know, hovering or shooting energy. You know, it's a great game. Anywho, Wii, Super Mario Galaxy 2, but pretty much just for the same reasons I liked Mario Sunshine, Mario 64, because it was in a 3D environment. And they didn't change enough. Like, I actually went in a bad direction, I thought, and it wasn't one of my favorites, but that's the only one I can really say for the Wii. I didn't play that Zelda game, which I heard was phenomenal, but I'll probably play it for the Wii U, because I think they did an HD upgrade for that. Wii U, New Super Mario Brothers, redoing the original game, but with better graphics, and just adding some new features and things you could do in different models, and it's just really good. They did a great job at it, and I felt like I could actually play it, finally. Like, back then, I was terrible. Everything was, like, real tight. I don't know. And hopefully Pikmin 3. I do want to pick that up when that goes down to like $20 or something like that, because I like the first one so much. PS4, we only own 2 games for it, the Lego movie game and Infamous Second Son, which I haven't been able to really play at all. Like, the kids have played a little bit, but not a lot, not a ton. But it looks great. I really want to play it. I just don't have time between this, my secret project, and doing a little bit more work on the book with Mike, and homeschooling Grayson, and then working part-time, and then playing in a band. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to shut off one day and, like, not going to be able to wake me up for, like, a week. And when I wake up, it's just going to be like, oh. I mean, I have no regrets living my life that way. You know, I get up around 7. No, never. Carol works at 8 o'clock in the morning, but I can almost throw a stone and hit her work from here. It's not really that close, but it's probably like, it's less than a mile. I'd say you go to the top of our street, which is maybe an 1/8 of a mile, maybe a 1/4 mile. No. Yeah, I'd say, no, a quarter is one time around a track, so an eighth of a mile to get to the top of our road. Then she has to go down to, she goes through 2 satellites that are right together, almost at the end of our street, like you go past this gas station. No, she doesn't. She goes to the first one. She doesn't even have to stop at the light, because there's a to go down that road. You don't have to stop. You can just look up the road, and if nobody's coming, you just go, yield. And then it's the last street on that road, which there's only 2, I think. So you go by the first one, it's the second one, and you go to the corner at the end of this big hill. Why do you care about this? She lives 5 minutes away, less than 5 minutes away. She works like 2 minutes away from here. She waits to the last second to leave the house. Like, she sleeps as long as she can, and I don't blame her. Like, I hate the mornings. I hate them. They're much better now that I don't have to get up and go to work early in the morning. But I know her pain, especially in the winter, and, like, you gotta go clean off your car. Sometimes I'll try to get up and do it or help her, but that doesn't happen very often. Because I mean, I still have to come back in and cook for the kids and take the dogs out and da-da-da-da. So it's like we're both working. And she leaves like 2 minutes before she has to be there every day. Like, I don't know. I give myself at least an extra 10 to 15 minutes to get to work, because you never know if there's going to be an accident or whatever. And it's not like my job's critical, like, to have me there. I mean, I know they need me there for hours and bodies and stuff, but it's not super critical. I only live about 5 minutes away from my work, unless it's traffic, and that sucks, but it's not usually traffic. Yeah, so she's late to work a lot. Not a lot. Not actually a lot at all. I think she's probably there on time. But, man, I hate, like, waking up and being like, okay, I've got an hour before I gotta go to work, or a half hour, or whatever. I could get up and take a shower and get ready and make a coffee and go to work, or I could sleep an extra, like, 20 minutes and just have to rush out the door and grab coffee. And I just gotta give myself time, because I don't want to get up any earlier than, I get up, but it's just easier that way. Anywho. I'm gonna run these through like a vocalizer and see what the most used word is that I say on here. I'm betting it's anywho. I say it so often. Oh boy. Yeah, let's just call this video. I mean, this is 25 minutes. Oh my god, I am terrible to you guys. Get out of here. Come back and watch the next one later. Go take a pee break. Go make somebody smile. Make yourself some popcorn or some other delicious treat for your mouth and or tummy. Yeah. So I may go on to PC. I may go on to the grind game. My D&D game went really well. I don't know. I don't know where we're going yet, but I gotta stop this before it gets out of control. Alright, go make somebody smile, and if you're gonna be right back, then I'll see you in just a second. On the road to 40, episode 37, 38, I can't remember at this point. I'll go check it out. Catch you in a few.